Another example where the market by itself does not provide an optimal outcome is what is known as public goods. So, for example, asteroid defense for the Earth is one nice example that is a public goods. And here there's a nice video provided by the website Marginal Revolutions. So what are public goods? Okay, public goods are goods that is non-viable in consumptions and non-excludable. Non-viable means that once individual's consumption of the goods does not affect another person's opportunity to consume the good. Okay, so that's called non-viable. And a good is non-excludable if individuals cannot deny each other the opportunity to consume that goods. So if a good is perfectly non-viable in consumptions and non-excludable, we call them pure public goods. And goods that are non-viable in consumptions and non-excludable to some extent, not fully, we call them impure public goods. So here's one example. The Great Wall of China is an example of impure public goods. So it's partially excludable in many parts of the Great Wall. There are admission fees to get into it, and it's partially viable. On a good day, it's beautiful. You can enjoy it a lot. And so in this example, the Great Wall of China is partially excludable. You can still see it from afar, but it has admission fee in many segments, easily accessible segments, and so it's partially excludable. And other people's enjoyment of the facility, the attracting place, may affect other people's enjoyment of this visits or consumptions of the Great Wall of China, or the consumption of visiting this place. So it's partially viable. On a public holiday, it could got really crowded. And I imagine that most of you, if you're like me, will not really enjoy the Great Wall as much if you are in the middle of the crowds. In that sense, the Great Wall of China is a impure public good. Okay, so if you look at it, goods that are excludable and viable, they are private good, like ice cream. You can deny other people eating your ice cream, and if you eat it, and other people may not be able to eat it. Okay, so ice cream would be considered a private goods, and in pure public goods are those who are perfectly non-excludable. You can't deny other people's obtaining benefit from defending asteroid hitting the Earth and destroying everyone. And it's not viable. You enjoying that defense does not affect other people's enjoyments of that defense. And there's things that is potentially excludable, but non-viable to some extent. Okay, those are called club goods. So you can put a password on it, and therefore preventing other people to use the Wi-Fi. And as long as not too many people are using the Wi-Fi heavily, it's not really viable. But obviously, if too many people are using it, it use up all the bandwidth, it becomes viable. So club goods are impure public goods. And there's another category, which is common resource. They are rival. If one fisherman catch that fish, other fishermen cannot catch the same fish. So they are viable in consumption or productions. But if we're talking about fishing stock in the high sea, it's non-excludable. It's really hard to exclude someone to fish in the high sea, at least for the most part. And so imperial public goods includes public goods with possible congestions, such as sidewalks, beaches, public Wi-Fi, and classroom assets, where the university can exclude some people enjoying the knowledge being taught in the classroom. So there's a classical example where common resource imperial public goods is not used in an efficient way, and that's called the tragedy of the commons. Okay, so when grazer raise their cows, their cattle in the commons, they would use the commons in a way that they optimize their profits. But the thing is, the commons is an imperial public goods. Everyone can use it, so it's not excludable. But it's to some extent viable. If there are too many cattle or cows on the commons and they eat up all the grasses, to the extent that the grass is not sustainable, it may not grow back. It may not grow back as well in the next seasons. The number of cows that it can support could drop a lot. It may never even recover. So that's the tragedy of commons. And it happens quite often for common resources. For example, there could be overfishing in a lot of area, in river, in lake, in oceans. Particularly in oceans, regulating fishery potentially could be really challenging. The ocean is really vast and hard to patrol. And in many countries, there are large number of small-scale fishing vessels. So regulating this large number of small-scale fishing vessels, enforcing law, enforcing regulation could be challenging. And so fishing stocks as common resource oftentimes has been exploited either to the full extent or it got overfished. Right? So, for example, the United Nations agency FAO estimated 71% of the commercially important marine fish stock fish within the biological sustainable level, and the other 29% are overfish. So a lot of time, the market cannot provide an efficient level of public goods because the logic of perfectly competitive markets providing an efficient level of private goods in the absence of externality, information asymmetry, and other things that could cause market failure, it doesn't apply to public goods. And so what would be the efficient use of public resource to provide public goods? Right? That oftentimes require cost-benefit analysis and require people to estimate the costs of providing public goods, but that could be difficult. It requires people to estimate the benefits of providing public goods, and that could be even harder. For example, it requires individuals to reveal their preference, but individuals may not be willing to tell the government their true valuation of particular public goods. if they really want the public good, they might exaggerate their valuation of the public goods. Okay, but even if individuals are willing to be honest about their valuation of public goods, they may not know what their valuation is. Right? For some public goods, it's not like they can easily put a price on it in their day-to-day experience. They may not pay for it. They may not involve a lot of transaction with it. And so they may have little experience pricing public goods, such as highway or epidemics preventions. Okay, and then and then it come another challenge is to how to aggregate all these preference, all these diverse and heterogeneous preference together, and so that the government can effectively sort of make decisions that cover in a way to more or less satisfy the preference of thousands, if not millions, of citizens to decide on how much they value a public project. These problems are challenging, and they are studied in the field of political economy. Here's one example. So the airport link connecting Brisbane CBD, Brisbane inner suburb to the airports, including a tunnel, it cost about 4.8 billion to build and opened in July 2012. Before it was built, it was forecast that within a few years, it would cover which the number of trips would be 135,000 per day. But later on, it went into receivership because the revenue generated from toll is way below. And when it went into receivership in February 2013, the number of trips per day was only 47,802 trips, well below half of the forecast. And so there's other problem in this planning of public project, public goods. And this example revealing the challenge and difficulties in doing that kind of estimates.